Damn, I was good. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 72 of the Shower Podcast, the podcast where I'm in my shower and you do you. I'm your host, Chip, and I followed my example and, let's say, the recommendations that I gave you in the last episode, and I took a step back, specifically about the way that I was feeling, let's say, from a competitive point of view, or should I, let's say, phrase it a bit better, from a performance point of view. As I sprinkled here and there, and maybe, down the line, you'll start to know more about me, but as I mentioned during previous episodes, I completed, let's say, 5 years of engineering in computer science. And during this process, there was a lot of math involved. I've always been attracted by it, and I've always been, let's say, relatively good at it. Let's say intuitively, I was able to pick up the topics and understand things relatively fast. And this helped me a lot because in general, I don't like too much to stay there and study and memorize. That's also why I struggled a lot with my previous certifications. But I just prefer to have a very complex topic, break it down, understand it, and then be able to use it. I don't like to stay there and have to just memorize stuff. If I get it, I get it. If I don't get it, that's it. And I have to, get better in order to get it. So it has happened to me a few times already, but I wasn't necessarily picking up on it directly. That since I've, let's say, finished university and my level of, let's say, efficiency and performance, let's say, has declined in the sense that the things that I'm doing now at work are, let's say, much more complex from a, let's say, from a general point of view. So I have to keep in consideration many more things. Real life happens and you have to take decisions based on the things that are happening. You can make a plan, but tomorrow that plan is not applicable anymore. So it's not so much a technical challenge directly, but it's a more, let's say, broad problem that you need to solve. And you need to keep into consideration many more things. You have to collaborate with people. So it's a different kind of struggle, but let's say for what is my feeling, this kind of tasks and this kind of environment is less challenging than what I had to do in university. And that is more or less normal because, that's the whole point of doing these hard things in university is not necessarily to learn something specifically. It's not that on the job you'll have to multiply matrices or do, linear regression on models. I mean, that was AI stuff that I used to do. But in general, it can be equations or really any topic in math that multidimensional spaces. It can be anything. Real life is much more simple. It's much simpler. Or let's say that the topics that you have studied in detail are not your bread and butter every day. You work and let's say have a role at a much higher level. If necessary, then you will have to still do that deep down, but it happens way less often. And so, given the way that I am, I was feeling a bit, let's say, challenged by this thought of, I don't know if I'm really still as good as I used to be. So I was very happy to learn, and the challenges that I had with these certifications brought me a bit up because I was like, okay, it is considered a very hard thing. The passing grade is very high because, you have to get 85% right. And there was a lot of pressure that I secretly enjoyed. So again, I took a step back from that vision that I was, let's say, focusing on the single topic. And I was like, okay, let me see if I can, let's say, understand immediately a topic using knowledge that I used to know, or that I should say are lingering within me, specifically within the world of AI. I never, even if I saw the paper and I understood the super basic concepts, I never went deep into the architecture and into the details of how these large language models work, specifically the let's say, the foundational architecture that are the basis of any of the tools that you use, and these are transformers. I didn't go, let's say, the boring way, taking a paper and reading it, because, that would have been, yes, interesting and challenging, but, it was still something that I wanted to enjoy. And this was sparked from the discussion that I had with my friend last night. And I was like, okay, let me see, following a video from a guy that it's absolutely brilliant. So if you are into math, IT, programming, go, let's say, huge shout out to 3 Blue 1 Brown. Fantastic. The stuff that he does, it's insane. So clear, so detailed, so simple yet complex. It's such a good mix that really it's one of the beauties, and let's say he's one of the reasons why I am such in love with the YouTube platform, because the stuff that people can create, it's just insane. And he had this 3-part video of over LLMs, and he was focusing on let's say what are the building blocks, of these technologies. And there was a mix between, let's say, terms and things that I never saw, because again, this was like when I was finishing university, it started to emerge, but during that time, I was already starting to work into the cybersecurity field, so it was not something that I cared so much about anymore, or at least I knew that I wanted to pursue something different. But yet, of course, the news were everywhere, so I knew about it, but I never delved into it. And it was my pleasure to see last night and this morning a bit that I was absolutely, going through these topics, and I was like, yes, this I know, this I understand. And it felt natural, it felt immediate. Whereas my perception in the moment before starting this, I would have like, yeah, you don't remember nothing. I was going to say something very bad. You will struggle, maybe you won't remember. And I feel like I wasn't, let's say, fair to myself, because you should recognize and you should, let's say, leverage in your own way and, let's say, improve the way that you see yourself based on your results. It is true that the way that you get to these results might be troubled, might be based on a lot of things that are not just merit, but that's not how things are supposed to be. You shouldn't necessarily be happy about something only if you worked so much for it and sacrificed a lot. It can be even something that you enjoyed along the way, where even lucky here and there, but at the basis of everything was still your hard work. It's just that having the complete picture and knowing that you did something, well, you should be proud of it. And again, that was the case this morning, and I wanted to, let's say, show off and not show off myself, but let's say show the example, and maybe bring a moment of, let's say, happiness also to you that are listening. Think back of something that you used to do that you're not doing so much actively right now, and try to pick up on it again. Try to see and realize how much faster and how easy it is actually to get back to that thing. It's kind of also, to close in a more, let's say, easy way. I always think, down the line, if I'll have a child and I'll have to do homework with him, besides the fact that I'm pretty convinced that I will be absolutely useless, because again, with how these models are right now, it would be a joke. And I really hope that, the schooling system will evolve in some way. But either way, let's say that there is gonna be the need for my intervention. As of right now, I think that I wouldn't be able to, because, I haven't done this thing, I am not trained to do these things anymore. But I generally believe, given this experience and given the way that also my brain, I think, functions, I will be able to actually help and enjoy it again due to the fact that, these memories will come back. But yeah, this duality of your perception compared to the reality, we should really keep it at bay and train it to reduce that, let's say, more negative feeling that one can have towards ourselves. Because again, it brings you nowhere. And this all summarizes to, as I always say, take action. Do something, validate, or let's say absolutely repress the thought that you have in your mind, because otherwise it will start lingering there and you will convince yourself of things that are just not true, that they don't exist, they're not part of reality, but your mind will be convinced of them. So again, give yourself a round of applause for the thing that you were able to do. Keep going, and you'll be just fine. This was episode 72 of the Shower Podcast. Thank you very much for listening. As always, it's very appreciated if you leave any example of yours in the comments. Leave a like, leave a review if you're on Spotify, and see you at the next one.